While the Ratchet Clank PSP games were busy disappointing people, Insomniac were hard at work on 2 games for the PS3. One was Resistance Fall of Man, a surprisingly solid first-person shooter. The other was a glorious return to form for their main money-making franchise, Ratchet Clank Tools of Destruction. Tools of Destruction begins with the titular duo on their new home of Metropolis, when the city is suddenly attacked by the evil Emperor Tachyon, who is after the last Lombax in the universe, namely Ratchet. Escaping, the duo search for the answers behind Tachyon, and eventually learn the fate of the Lombaxes, along with their great secret. The plot for this game is one of its strengths, and is a serious step up from the previous games in the series. As the titular duo head through their adventures, the plot twists and turns, keeping you interested in what happens next, and helping to alleviate some of the more repetitive feelings from previous games. As the pair make their way through the game, they meet a variety of wild and crazy characters, almost all of whom are well developed and entertaining, especially the 3 main allies you meet around halfway through the game. I'd go so far as to say it's the strongest lineup of characters the series has ever had. Also strong is the gameplay, which returns some up your arsenal rather than the more serious Gladiator. The weapons are imaginative, the enemies are varied, and the levels are well designed. This is all part of the course at this point, and really shouldn't come as any great surprise. Combat is enhanced, however, through the use of devices, which are slightly overpowered items that can give you an additional edge. The Transmorpher, for example, will turn whichever enemy it hits into penguins, while the Groovatron will cause all the enemies to break out into dance routines. Thankfully, the limited number of these devices you can carry means they don't break the game as much as they could have, at least until you purchase the Golden Groovatron with its unlimited uses. But that's ridiculously expensive, so it kind of evens out. The main changes to gameplay, though, come in the form of the short puzzle sections the game occasionally makes you play through. While all the games in the series have had these, the ones in Tools of Destruction make use of the PS3's 6-axis controller, making you guide a laser across a wall or move a marble across a maze by tilting the controller. They're actually quite fun and are welcome little diversions, even if some of the marble mazes can be a tad frustrating and overlong. Other breaks in the core gunplay are the vehicle sections. For some levels you're required to fly a ship through asteroid belts and around planets, while on others you're using a set of collapsible wings to fly through very open-ended levels. These are great fun and do a lot to help the levels feel even bigger than they actually are, and they're already pretty big, so that's a heck of an accomplishment. On the more technical side of things, the visuals are absolutely stunning. There's a reason people refer to these PS3 titles as the Pixar of video games. It really is amazing how much visual prowess Insomniac possesses, and helps the game really feel incredibly alive. Also outstanding is the audio. As in every game thus far, the voices are fantastic, the sound effects feel pitch perfect, and the music, as always, is absolutely amazing, enhancing the levels subtly while also being a real pleasure to listen to on their own. If you're at all interested, they're pretty easy to find online, and you really should. There's some crackers here. Unfortunately, the game is not perfect. While the weapons may be imaginative, their effectiveness in combat is somewhat less so. You'll frequently find that you're forcing yourself to use some of them solely so you can level them up for the obligatory skill points. As I've mentioned before, this was an issue in earlier games, but it was never quite as bad as it was here. There's practically no reason to use the buzz blades, for example, as they require getting close to your opponents, and the wrench does exactly the same job far more effectively. Additionally, although most of the levels look impressively large, sometimes they don't feel it. One such level rather obviously has you going in a fairly small loop through a few buildings, and the devs don't seem to have bothered hiding that fact particularly well. It's not the biggest issue given how many levels there are and how infrequently this crops up, but it is worth mentioning all the same. Also irritating is the lack of subtitles. The animated cutscenes have them, which is appreciated, but the in-game dialogue doesn't, and that's the part of the game when you really need them most, considering that all the gunfire and destruction going on around you can quite often obscure what people are saying. It's rarely plot crucial, but it is frustrating to only be able to understand half of what characters say. Finally, and I freely acknowledge that this is an incredibly minor issue, once you purchase the final armor upgrade, Ratchet's face is completely covered by a helmet, meaning that you can't see his face during cutscenes. It's an issue that cropped up before, but there were always old-school skins you could turn on that would alleviate the problem. The only way to get around it here is to use its unlockable code from of all things, and that unlocks a prison outfit, which is more than a little distracting. All of these things, however, are pretty small issues, the last one especially so, and Tools of Destruction is still a fantastic game. It's a huge step forward for the franchise, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you're at all interested in the franchise and you don't have a PS4, this is the best place to start. And if you're already into the franchise, then let's be honest here, you already own it. So what are you listening to me for? Go play it again. It's still fun.